I'm not going to waste your time with my nonsense. Although, isn't that kind of what we do here every week?
Hard Rock Lunchbox.
What is up, everybody? It is time for another edition of the Hard Rock Lunchbox. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I definitely feel like I'm forgetting to do something. Let's check. Okay, chat is there. I'm going to broadcast. I am broadcasting. I'm recording the top 20. I think we're all right. All right. It's time to get this started. So, how's everybody doing? It is indeed another Thursday, which means it's time for another Hard Rock Lunchbox, and of course, another edition of the Top 20. Yay! Got a bunch more plays on last week's Top 20 because I shared it on social media. See, it's just that simple, and I can't seem to get around to doing that. Like, it's really bordering on pathetic. And, oh, hey, here's something you guys probably need to know. If you're a fan of the Top 20 or have ever even watched it once, I'll consider that a fan. You need to know that I actually looked into the optimization issue I was having with my Logitech camera. And it turns out, for whatever reason, the Hard Rock Lunchbox and the Top 20 cannot be optimized. That's right, yeah. We cannot optimize this. Which, if you're a glass half full kind of guy, that must mean it's about as optimized as it's going to get. Am I right? Yeah. Actually, it has more to do with technology than anything else. I'm using here this. See how it shook everything like that? I probably shouldn't have done that. That is my Revel 9 laptop. That is my studio laptop that I take with me whenever I go record vocals on the road or anywhere that's not my primary studio. So since it was the cleanest and had the least on it, I figured that would be the best to use for the new Logitech camera. I don't want to use my Hard Rock Lunchbox computer because it's actually doing a hell of a lot of stuff. Excuse me, during the show, including all my nonsense and streaming the show, which is a lot of bandwidth. So I didn't want to do that. But this laptop is older. It's kind of one of those things like I almost never use it, and I also never really need to upgrade it either because I just need it for what it's doing. It basically runs Reaper, and that's how I record portable vocals, as it were. But unfortunately, it came out pre-USB 3 settings, or at least I felt like paying for USB 3 settings. And the Logitech camera, the bitch that it is right there, would really, really appreciate the USB 3 cable. It wants the mini if you want to know it all. But it wants a USB 3, and I don't have one. I have the USB SS, which is like the super speed, and we now finally look back on it as USB 2.0. So, yes, still better than that older USB, which probably wouldn't work at all, but not as great as the USB 3, and probably not as great as the USB 4. And this reminds me of a conversation I had with Biscuits and Triscuits earlier this week, but I just cannot even get into that right now because my mind cannot get blown anymore today. So, thank you for tuning in. Let me try that again. Thank you for tuning in to the very sub-optimized Top 20 and the Hard Rock Lunchbox. I think we have a decent show for you today. I didn't think that was the case a little while ago, but I did pull out some cool music for today. We're going to have that and talk about and all that other stuff. I didn't really have anything for the Top 20 per se, and I still don't. I kind of have a collection of different things, but usually that drags on to what I love when you may be having performance issues. Like my camera just said that. Like, first of all, rude. Second of all, that's a little personal to be announcing during the show. 3, if it's an optimization thing, just stick with optimization. Don't tell me about my performance issues. Come on, man. Anyway, but I was going to say something. I was going to say something important. Probably not. I might, but maybe. I don't know. Probably not. Oh, yeah, I have a bunch of little things to talk about, so that'll probably take up the bulk of the show. So, but like in basic light housekeeping, let's just talk about the new Top 20 is out. And feel free to check that out. I'm going to do my absolute best to post that on social media. So if you want to check it out now before the other 16 users check it out, that would be a good idea. It's the one where I talk about like band stuff, blah, 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 no other shows in the calendar, and I talk about going to Sean Obenauer's wake and kind of like what, loss and how I'm going to look to deal with losses going forward. And kind of just trying to find my place in the world. Bacon is My Podcast has a full interview with Haunter, still not a Pokemon, by the way. And they have 7 questions with Rob Jacobs. Now, when I saw that come out, I haven't watched it yet, but when I saw it come out, I was like, I know that name. I absolutely know that name, and I could not remember why or where I knew that name. And it's because he's a dude that produced or reproduced, I'm not even sure, Angeline and the video for Angeline when Craving Strange was out in California. Like, I totally remember that. I totally remember that name. I actually remember talking to Jimmy T quite a bit about the change going over to work with Rob Jacobs. And honestly, this was like a big step to a possible big future like direction and a nice shiny staircase, and I think Angeline to date is still one of Craving's best songs. But I do remember talking with Jimmy T about the subtle differences between his recording and Rob Jacobs' remix and stuff like that, and it was very intricate and very detailed and very producer nerd-like, so I'm not going to bore anybody with it, but it was definitely, I remember all of that, so I'm going to be checking that out. You should too, and that means since it's 7 questions, his full interview will probably be out on Monday. But now that they're changing shit up over at Bacon is My Podcast, absolutely anything goes apparently, because all through the month of April they're going to be giving you 2 interviews. Well, excuse me, Mr. Bacon is My Podcast, Mr. Popularity over there is going to give you twice as much bacon, which is generally not a bad thing. So I don't expect it to be a bad thing here, but you never know. It's not April. We'll have to see. That should be the 8th question. When is too much bacon too much bacon? I would start asking that. It's time to evolve, guys. 7 questions is so 2021. I kid because I can. We've got a couple of release notes to talk about. The Dirty Deeds video that we did at the Music Mall for the After Hours review is out. It is on their YouTube page. It will be shared. I've shared it from the Revel 9 page. I think I've shared it from my personal page. I'll be sharing it a lot for a couple of weeks. It's really nice, and I'm very super happy to be even included in that project. So I want to support the After Hours review as much as possible and share it and get some awareness for basically anybody and everybody else that we could. I'm going to move this. What the hell's going on? My camera keeps slipping. So there. Yeah. That's so didn't make a difference. Something about root beer. I don't know. I don't care. But the After Hours review doing a good thing. And I don't. This sounds silly. I have no idea what they're getting out of it other than maybe exposure and stuff like that, because they're ponying up a lot of money and a lot of time to actually promote all these Long Island bands, and I think that that's really good. It's something that's very dear to my heart. So the very least I can do is support them and support their efforts, especially when their efforts are supporting mine. Or do. Also, Stereo Garden. We are going to be playing at Stereo Garden on Friday, April 1st. We'll be there. We are in direct support of Osmosis, which is the New York area preeminent Ozzy cover band. It's going to be fun. If you like Ozzy or Sabbath at all, I would recommend it. The Osmosis is quite good, and it'll be quite enjoyable, certainly for me. Once I get a drink in me, I will be singing at least half of those songs, and Kaz will be playing guitar, air guitar probably for the rest of them, or just talking about how much better he could do, which honestly is probably true. So I wouldn't even slam him for that. I've heard Kaz play a lot of Randy Rhoads. He kind of nails it. It's sort of his thing. So it'll be good to do that. I believe Pathmaker is actually up right before us, which works really well for anybody and everybody that's interested in a Pathmaker Revel 9 combo, like a Pathmaker 9 kind of thing. Like, I would be down for that. So that's going to be great. I am super looking forward to seeing James and the gang. James and the gang, like James Gang. Pathmaker, again, live. We have not played with them in quite some time, and I always like playing with them. They're a super cool band, so I'm psyched to do it. And like I said, I haven't seen or played with them in ages. So that's April 1st. I'm going to put up the ticket links today because mainly I've been slacking. It should have been up weeks ago. But we are selling them for $15 each. That's our cost. And then we're doing 2 for $25. That's below our cost. But hey, if you're going to come in 2 people, it seems like the least we can do. So make sure you get your tickets. We actually because it's so far from where my guys are, I think we have at least 10, 12 tickets left. So, yeah, get on me about that because they probably will go. I can't imagine that they won't go, but they'll probably all go next week. So just get at me on that. And, something about root beer, and I guess that's all I got. So, something. I did that last week. Maybe that'll be the opening this week. It's such a fun sound. Anyway, I'm not going to waste your time with my nonsense. Although, isn't that kind of what we do here every week? I feel like I just got the opening blurb right there. 11 minutes in, ladies and gentlemen. So I wasn't really sure what I was going to talk about, except, like I said, there was like a whole bunch of little tiny things that are just like kind of just eating away at me. Like, I will say, I started going back to the gym again. I had stopped because of the mask requirement. Not that I'm opposed to masks. I'm opposed to dying because I can't breathe. And I understand that, like I've talked to my oldest, and like my oldest is like in super good shape. Like, he's a super athlete. Like, he runs this New York. He plays Ultimate all the time. Like, he's always doing something. Like, there's not a day, like maybe, I don't even know that there's a day in the week where he's not doing something athletic. And he's talking about how, like, Ultimate Frisbee is really big into the mask usage and non, stretching out the pandemic and stuff like that. So they were really big into that. So a lot of those players were wearing their masks, but like, and he was like, yeah, it's fine. You can wear your mask. Like, even my daughter was wearing her mask when we would play, except for games, just because she would be the only one, and that felt like a little weird. So, but, what was I going to say about masks? But he's always like, if you can breathe through your mask, like, you're really doing a good job with your cardio and stuff like that. And unfortunately, my point is like, yeah, man, I'm just not quite there yet because, I don't know if you can tell from looking at me, but I am not in the best cardiac shape of my life, and that's unfortunate. So when I had gone back to the gym, which was basically when they reopened it for COVID, or reopened it after COVID, the first thing, before the next surge came in, I could do it, and I was doing all right, and there was a lot of distancing, and I was comfortable doing the distancing. And I went a couple times once the mask requirement came back in, but honestly, I almost died. Like, I felt like I almost was going to die. Probably not die. Die is probably not the right word. Pass out. I thought I was going to pass out. Because the main thing I need most of the time is cardio, because I don't do much. Like, yeah, I don't sit all day anymore. Like, I have a standing desk, so I'm at least standing, but, like, I'm not working for the highway department. Not that those guys work all that hard, but, like, I'm not. So I need the cardio, and cardio requires breath and requires respiration. And I just could not do it anymore once they required the masks. And then, honestly, I just sort of slipped into another low end of the unbelievably long episode of cyclical depression I've had, and I just never went back. So I started going back again this week. I am happy to report that I don't know what these things are right in here. It's not a muscle. I think their tendons on both arms are so goddamn sore that they kept me up last night, which is, I don't know how hard you have to work out that it just, like, disrupts your sleep with pain, but, like, whatever that threshold is, yeah, I nailed it. All right, good job. And I've also changed up when I go to the gym. I've decided to not go in the morning anymore because I'm just completely unreliable these days, which it's not something I would have said about myself a couple years ago, but here we are, and you got to work with the army you got, right? So I started going in the afternoons, and I do not like the company at the gym in the afternoons at all. At all. I was there yesterday, and it was just like, first of all, like, just totally nothing but, like, old dudes, like, hanging out, and I realized, man, am I an old dude? Like, do I belong here? Is that... Like, I don't know when I start going to dinner early or getting free movie tickets, but I feel like it's coming, man, especially if I'm starting to hang out with this crowd. But they don't look like me, and they don't act like me, so it made me super uncomfortable. Besides, they kept just sitting on the machines talking to each other, because I guess it definitely seemed like retirees that didn't have a lot to do. Like, the Great Resignation that just sort of happened in the world, like, I think this is them. And now they don't have anything to do all day, so they're going to the gym. That's my best guess. I don't like it, so I'm going to have to thread that needle a little bit, but... I gotta try because I am not healthy, and now I actually have the lab test to prove it. You ever get like a lab test back that just like scares you straight? Like this is kind of like one of those things. Like I didn't get any alarms, but I got the pre-alarms, and it's like, oh, cool. All right, well you keep this up, man. We're gonna put you in the ground, and I don't want to do that. So now I have to make some changes. But I will tell you, the thing that pisses me off the most, and this has been going on for probably like 10, 15, maybe even 20 years. Like, I don't know how many of you ever watch like infomercials, especially like weight loss infomercials, like not necessarily like the Total Gym or, any Chuck Norris kind of stuff like that. But like, like, I can't even think. Honestly, I can't even think of any because they're only on ever so late, or that's only whenever I watch them is when it's so late. But it's always the same situation, right? Like, and I believe that every single diet out there, every single meal plan, every single whatever works for somebody, right? And that's important. And if you didn't know that, like, let me just point that out. Like, if you've ever really done like a plan and really stuck to it, not like, dipped your toe into like a plan, but like, really embraced it, like giving it a full 28-day challenge. Like, let's make this lifestyle change and see what happens. By the way, which is what I recommend to people all the time, especially with like food allergies or, that kind of stuff. Like, just 28 days is like kind of the bare minimum. 90 days is better, but 28 days is kind of like the bare minimum to do something before you'll notice a change, right? You have a little bit of getting used to and everything's all messed up, and then you actually have some even more adjustment like for your body, and then you actually start maybe seeing some benefits, some signs that you're moving in a good or a bad direction. So I always recommend that. So if anybody that's ever done like a full 28 days of really embracing something and still failed, like, I just want you to know, like, it has nothing to do with you failing. It has everything to do with you and how you're built. Like, the bio-individuality is super, super important, right? Some people just, we all know them. Like, some people just like burn calories standing, breathing air. And some people like gain calories if they stand too close to this taco truck. Like, it's how we're built. A lot of it is how we react to the world. For years, people have been telling me it's my reaction to the world, my stress level, that keeps me at the weight that I am. And that's possibly true. In fact, it's probably true. And maybe one day when I get into my 60s or early 70s and I'm sitting on a beach for weeks at a time and not worried about anything else in the world, like, and I just drop 100 pounds that week, I promise to come back here on the Hard Rock Lunchbox, which I guess Charlotte will be running at that point, and I will tell you, like, oh yeah, everybody was right. Thank you so much for that. That could very well be. But the problem I have is that, you see all these plans, and a lot of them are things that, like, not everybody can do, right? Like, it's super easy to, like, always cook your own meals if you're the one that's always cooking your own meals. But if you're dealing in, like, a family setting, like a lot of us are, certainly like I am, it's very difficult to do that kind of stuff. Like, you can't, like, well, I'm just having, 5 beans. Like, you guys can just fuck right off. Like, that's not how that works, right? It's not very practical. And more importantly than that, what I was getting to with, like, all these infomercials used to bother me all the time, is that it's always some fat chick from, like, I don't know, Louisiana, no, probably like Nebraska, Kentucky or whatever. Like, it was just amazing. Like, I just cut down to, like, 2 soft drinks a day, and I didn't eat bread. Like, all those things that you ever hear, like those low-hanging fruit that you can't believe people didn't know were bad for. Like, I love the people like, well, I just, I gave up fast food and I lost 30 pounds. Like, yeah, no shit, Jack. Like, that is not even food. You're literally eating weight. Like, I don't, like I do, like, every now and then, and I couldn't even tell you the last time this happened, but every now and then when I'm just, like, dying for, like, some food late at night, like, after practice, like, I have been known to go to Wendy's. It's, like, one of the only, Wendy's and Taco Bell, the only 2 fast food places, I think, that I still go to. And if it's been, I don't think I've been to either within the past year. That's how infrequently it is. But one of the things about me that, and you probably know this already, but, like, I tend to be like 99% gluten free. Gliadin, whatever the thing is. Like, I have a slight autoimmune disorder called rheumatoid arthritis, and it's usually just completely fine unless it flares up, and gluten will flare that shit up kind of on command. So I really just don't have gluten. So one of the funny things is, like, the thing that I get at Wendy's is I get a junior cheeseburger deluxe. I get the deluxe because Wendy's is one of the few places that still gives you fresh lettuce, fresh onions, and fresh tomatoes. I love that stuff. But what I do is I get 2 of those, right? And I unwrap both of them, and I pull the burger and all the veg off each one, and I put it together like that, and I basically make a meat sandwich where the 2 patties, and they're barely patties on a junior, let me tell you. And it's basically a vegetable sandwich with 2 patties, right? And that's what I eat. It's honestly probably more caloric than I would need at like 1 in the morning or 12 at night or whenever hell I'm getting home from practice. But it does the job, and it's quick and it's easy, and I don't have to cook it, and it's probably not that caloric. But what I wanted to say is that, like, the best part about that whole experience is I put those buns back in the bag, and those buns have been soaked in like butter or chemicals or whatever else is in there, and they've also soaked in pretty much all the burger grease. And what I've noticed is when I do that, the bag is somehow heavier still by the time it's done because of all the bread and the grease and the oil and stuff in there. And the weight of the bag doesn't even seem to really change so much when I do that and I eat the meat and the veg out of the center. So, like, I don't know. But anyway, so my point is, before I run out of time, see, I told you I didn't have anything to talk about. Before I run out of time, it's like I see all these things, and I've seen them for years. Like, I just give up this, I give up that, I give up this. So I get all this blood work back, and like, it's not good. But what's funny is that kind of one of the main things that I have to give up is soda, which I don't drink, really refined carbohydrates, which I don't eat because they have gluten in them, and highly processed meats like fast foods, which I also don't eat. So I am 3 for 3 of doing the stuff already that it told me to do, and still I'm shooting moon-level numbers in the wrong direction. And you want to talk about a real mind F? Like that, hey man, here's what you got to do. I already do that. In fact, I already do that incredibly well because I'm me. Also, I don't have a sweet tooth, so like refined sugars is something like the most sweets I eat is like when Charlotte bakes something, and a lot of times it's really just because she's baked it and that's the right thing to do, unless of course she makes my mom's banana bread, in which case, like, I gotta eat that. That's just not a sacrifice I'm willing to make, man. So I don't know why I was telling you all that. I wanted to give you some sort of positive message about bio-individuality and like why it's important to not be discouraged by things that happen to you that work for other people. Like, life is like that, man. Life is 100% like that. Things work for other people that don't work for you all day long. So, I don't know. Just embrace your you-ness and find out what works for you. And I think that that's the most important thing. Figure out what you can do. Figure out what works for you. Figure out what makes sense to you. Like, I'll leave you with one last thing. Like, so I've been doing intermittent fasting because I like intermittent fasting. I was having terrible heartburn pains. And I found that by limiting the window in which I would eat every day, I just don't have those anymore. Like, they just stopped. Well, so when I talk about doing something for 28 days to see if it affects your body, like, I did that however many months ago, and just heartburn went away. Like, sweet. Like, that is an endorsement all day long. Intermittent fasting is not for everybody. Absolutely true. And I will tell you that given my particular bio-individuality, this is something I do really well. Like, I actually forgot to eat so far this morning before the box. I usually have like a shake or something before the box. Completely forgot because I wasn't hungry. So like my body's adapted really well to this window that I eat during, and like I'm really excited about that because honestly, as people get older, they need to eat less often. They need to eat less food. So like this is a total win. Like the fact that it was working for me so easily is a total win. And you want to know what's really messed up is that in the reporting, like one of the things that might be a contributing factor to what I'm doing is intermittent fasting. Like, it's actually on the table that I might have to stop doing something that works really well for me. It has other side effects that are really good, but is also causing these couple of other bad things. And that is completely messed up and not fair. And yet, here we are. You might argue that it's not fair that you have to listen to me every Thursday, and I would agree with you. And that's kind of how we do things on the box. But to wrap this up, which I know you probably are dying for me to wrap this up, I just want to point out that it's really about the way you experience life. Like I was saying last week, your experiences and how they shape you and how they they change the way you deal with life going forward and how you exist in it. And I cannot think of any other better example than what happened about 38 years ago on this very day. 38 years ago, 5 strangers walked into a high school on a Saturday afternoon to spend their afternoon in detention. And when they walked out of there, they were changed people. They were better people. They were the goddamn Breakfast Club.